Let's talk about something that a lot of people don't have the balls to talk about. Let's talk about when mistakes get made, right? So a lot of mortgage lenders, a lot of real estate agents, a lot of builders don't ever come out on social media. It's all the fluff. It's all the vanilla stuff. It's all the, we're going to close nice and smooth. But let's talk about when problems happen or when we make mistakes, because we make mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes, right? We all make mistakes. And, the key is not if you do or if you don't. I think the key is what do you do if and when you make them? And then how do you make them right?
Right.
You know what I mean? And I know we got a lot of examples and a lot of files and clients where we could give cool stories about, but, I think it's interesting because what do you think makes people hide behind mistakes and then, they don't want to talk about them?
Ooh, I think sometimes it literally just comes down to ego, right? Like you don't want to just, which is kind of a crazy thing, right? Because like you just said, everybody makes mistakes. But it's like people don't want to admit that, or they don't want it out there that they made a mistake because they want to like portray this image that, hey, I'm always, like you said, always smooth closings, always quick, no bumps, no nothing. How many times have you heard that from people's sales pitches?
That's La La Land. That's fake. That's like a reality TV show.
Yeah.
Not real.
What do you think the main reason is that people don't come out and admit, or they, we hear stories all the time of, they messed this up and then they ghosted us.
Mm-hmm. I think, now that I've been doing this so long and we're taking such a customer service approach behind our business that it's like the craziest thing that, hopefully everybody watching this or listening to this, what lenders do is they typically blame underwriters. What lenders do is they'll blame their processor, or they'll blame somebody else.
Right.
Okay, here's the deal, okay? A mortgage loan officer's job is to know the underwriter's job, know the processor's job, know the closer's job, because all the underwriter and processor and people during the loan transaction are doing is checking the loan officer's work.
Right.
It's your job to know the loan program, what the customer's going to need, what to get them to the closing table, and what could come up, and how to prevent it. So it's so funny to me that still to this day, 2022, I hear it all the time. Clients will come to me, realtors will come to me. We're sitting, out and about and, out in town, and they're like, yeah, it said, the underwriter. And I'm like, no, underwriting, like Google the word underwriting. They're checking the work of what the file got put in.
Right.
Which is the loan officer's job to tell the customer if they're good, if your loan's going to close, and then what they're going to need. And then the underwriter just makes sure the loan officer is an idiot. Right? Because a lot of loan officers literally don't even have to take their national exam. Because if they work at a bank or a credit union, they're protected. And banks and credit unions don't require mortgage loan officers to get their mortgage license.
Right.
It's insane. 99% of people, even in our industry, don't even know that. But if you work for a broker, you have to get your mortgage exam, or you have to get your mortgage license.
Right.
And I don't know if you remember, and you and me took it. I passed on the exact percent, 75. And what did you get? 89 or 88?
Yeah, it was right up in there.
Yeah, I was sweating bullets, but it's a hard test, and it took us like a month to study. But anyway, it's and then you'll hear realtors blame home inspectors or blame appraisers.
Right.
You hear realtors blame the lender. Well, it depends. Maybe the lender needed to get blamed for something. However, I feel like, whether it's the lender, the real estate agent, or the builder, it's each person's individual job to know all the other people's jobs if they're good, if they care, if they give a shit. A good real estate agent, which I'm friends with a lot of them, know more about the lending process than a lot of lenders.
Crazy.
Yeah, good real estate agents. But agents that are just like, oh, I don't know, it's just you just talk to the bank. It's like, what kind of service is that? Like, a good realtor and even a good lender like me, I can talk the talk with most real estate agents and be able to go, nope, that. Like, I know a lot of what a realtor does because I've been doing it so long and I care.
Right.
And I'm friends with a lot of them. And I'm like, well, what does that mean? Or when the contract says that, what do you have to do? Like, and I know a lot about what insurance agents do. And I know about deductibles and this, and because I want to have the full scope. So if a client comes to me, I might be able to say, well, I can't legally advise you. You're going to have to talk to your realtor about that. But at least I can have a conversation and not sound like an idiot.
Right, versus just they come to ask you a question, you're just like, I have no clue, man. Talk to the realtor. Versus having, and we don't have all the knowledge of all those things, right? But we have enough to where we can give some knowledge to them, and then they can go use that knowledge to find the best insurance agent or find the best realtor. But back to what you started with, too, with the loan officer piece, there's like two types of loan officers, a proactive and a reactive, right?
Mm-hmm.
The reactive one's the one that just throws it into underwriting and see what the underwriter wants or what the underwriter needs. Well, they're just trying to put it into the guidelines.
Mm-hmm.
Versus a proactive lender is going to tell the client, you need this, this, and this, and you need it by this day because we've done enough loans to be able to say you're closing on this day, so we know how long processing takes. We know how long underwriting takes. We know how long the appraisal typically takes, closing, all that stuff. And then, two, it's like when you put a really solid file together, knowing what the underwriter is going to look at, knowing what they need and to check, you're almost like the good analogy is like going to court. You're building a case as to why, if you have a really tough file, why this borrower qualifies. Mm-hmm. Versus just putting part of the picture together and then letting the underwriter piece it and then they see it and they see some stuff they don't like with no explanation. Mm-hmm. Now their brain is like, okay, this is kind of nasty. Mm-hmm. But if you already know the underwriter is going to say that and think that, so you already overcome all those roadblocks before you even let the underwriter see it, every time they have a question, they have the answer without reaching out or asking for anything because you already did it.
Yep.
And then people don't understand how much that affects the client's experience. Because if you got a real nasty file and you just throw it in and see what the underwriter says and they don't like it, they may send you a list of things, 30, 40 things long. And now the client's like, you really need 40 different things? And then you're like, yeah, we didn't know this, though, until the underwriter looked at it, right? That's the thing to say.
Yeah.
Versus you call the client, the pre-qual, you can already feel out, you can see, ask the right questions, get the right answers, and then you and your brain, knowing the knowledge, can say, ooh, because of this, get this. You're going to need this. And they may be like, well, that might take me a week. It's a good thing we brought it up today, right? Not 2 weeks in.
Yep.
So that's a huge difference. It's like, if you're just reactive all the time, then, yeah, you're going to be that guy that's like, oh, the underwriters, oh, my closer.
Yeah.
Oh, my processor.
Yeah.
Just a finger pointing game at that point. But, yeah, there's a lot of responsibility on the front end because you're the one that gets the full story.
Yep. I always like to say, like, not using a realtor is like going to court without a lawyer. And not having a good lender is like picking some random doctor to do your surgery. You should do your research and get the best of the best. If somebody's going to surgically operate on your body,
right?
You should, I'm just pick whoever the clinic gives me. No, I wouldn't do that. I'd get second opinions, third opinions, right? Research some of the best surgeons, especially if they're going to cut your body open.
Yeah.
You know, and like, obviously mortgage lending isn't cutting your body open, but sometimes it does feel like that.
Well, sometimes it's a matter of you, your wife, and your 3 kids not having a place to live.
That can feel like somebody's cutting you open. You want to know what really feels like cutting you open? When I get some phone calls, usually every month, and you've heard them, where clients will call me in tears, crying, belching on the phone, saying, you know what? This lender just told me this. Remember, I got one yesterday. And the lender literally, for the last month, has said, this is all you need to closing. Told them like $8-9 grand.
Right.
And now closing's next week. Send them a new document saying now you need 14 to 15 grand to close, and they don't have it.
Right.
That probably feels like somebody's cutting open their rib cage.
And when you're that close to closing, you're already making an arrangement, right? So if you're in a rental, you probably terminated your lease or gave a notice, right? I'm moving out on this day, and then you switched all your stuff, your mailing, and it's just so much more stress at that point.
Yep.
To then undo all of that.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, you know, sometimes if you put in your notice 30, 60 days on some of these apartment leases, they've already got your unit re-rented. So, like, you're not just going to call them and say, hey, my mortgage fell through. I need to just stay here for a little while longer. They're going to be like, we already got another year lease signed.
Yep.
Somebody's moving in, you're moving out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. But
the biggest thing is if you are about to buy a house and you have a rental property and you have to give a notice, do not give your notice until you are at the closing day. I'm telling you, listen to my advice. You do not give your notice, make yourself homeless until the loan's approved, the appraisal's back, you receive the clear to close from your lender, and then you're actually at the title company closing. So many people go, well, they told me I'm good. What do you mean you're good? You haven't even submitted paperwork. The appraisal's not even back. The home inspection's not even back. Mm-hmm. You are not good. Do not listen to any lender, even myself included, which I don't say this, but don't listen to any lender that says, oh, I'm pre-approved. Okay, listen to the word pre-approved. Pre. That doesn't mean you're final approved. That doesn't mean you have the keys in your hand and you're unlocking the door to your brand new house. Appraisal issues can happen. The appraisal could come in short. Your home inspection could blow up. Your lender could do a piece of shit job and forget documents and then now say, oh, your loan's not approved. Does that happen? Happens all the time. And the key to that is do not give your notice ever and make yourself homeless, make your family homeless until you know the loan is actually done. The loan's not done until it's what? Done.
Right. When that ink's on the paper.
Yes.
Yeah, that's crazy. Because you've had issues too where it's like even something out of anybody's control. You could have a client that loses their job 2 days before closing, but they were clear to close.
Happens.
Final numbers are done. Closing's Friday. Wednesday, they get laid off. Nobody can see that coming. But at the end of the day, if you're already set yourself up to be homeless, yes, that's something that was out of that client's control, everybody's control, but it's still reality, right? Now you still have to face the fact that you're not moving into this new house.
Correct.
And you're going to be homeless in 2 days.
Yep.
And that's just a lot of stress on a human being that, you know, they couldn't control it, but they have to deal with it at that point. And it's just.
Yeah. Period. Like, and guys, don't try to hide anything from your mortgage lender or your realtor. Like, here's the deal. We're going to have to get everything and anything. The joke is we're going to have to get a urine sample. We're going to have to get a blood test. We're going to have to check where you've been the last 10 years. You know what? It's almost sometimes true. Some of these government home loans, we're going to have to get everything. You are not going to be able to put something under a rug when you're doing a mortgage real estate transaction.
Right.
We're going to look at everything on credit. Everything. We're going to look at your pay stubs, your W-2s, your taxes, your bank statements. If you've overdrafted your bank account, if you got multiple accounts, if you're doing anything weird or don't know if it might be a problem, bring it up to your lender.
Yeah.
Say, hey, would this be a problem? I'm worried about it. Don't just be like, I hope they don't ask.
Exactly.
We're going to ask. We're going to ask everything. We're going to know you more than probably your friends know you.
Yeah.
We're going to know stuff about your financial background, your credit background. We're going to know what you're spending. And it's not to judge you. No. We have to go off of set guidelines, set handbooks. This plus this equals that. Equal Credit Act, fair lending laws, all that. We have to do everything on every transaction, no matter who you are, how much you make, or what type of house you're buying. The key is, though, is it will come up. If you got this on your divorce decree or you have this on your job right now or they switched your pay, don't be like, okay, they said I'm pre-approved. Maybe I'll just still be good. No, you're not going to be good.
Right.
We're going to find out everything. We have to. It's required by law.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah, and that is the thing. I feel like some people are, you know, it's like they just get scared to, I don't want to ruin my deal. But if you can give us, an experienced loan officer, enough time, there's so many people with enough knowledge to help you through it, step by step.
Yep.
They could be like, oh, yes, that's going to cause an issue. Here's the exact issue it's going to cause, and here's your 2 options to solve it. You can pick one of these 2, but if you can't make one of these 2 happen, then yes, you are going to kill your deal. But guess what? You'd rather know now than 3 weeks from now.
Yep.
Because you're going to know. But do you want to know on day 3 or do you want to know on day 2 before closing? You know, I'd rather know day 3 if something's going to blow it up.
Yeah.
But at least you can then get the knowledge from an experienced loan officer that can help you. Because a lot of the things, we run into so many things on a day-to-day basis that they are issues. Technically, yeah, they are. But we have solutions. There's a lot of things that can be solved. A lot of things, and I mean, just in the multiple years we've done this that have been like, how'd you guys do that? There's usually a way. Now, obviously, if your credit just tanks and it doesn't fit the guidelines, there's no fixing that right on the spot. But even if like an employment does change or your income does change, maybe there's other ways around it to still get the deal done. Interesting opinions on that. I was watching one about like everybody gets sucked into the 15-year mortgage because of the low interest rates look so good. And then they sell everybody on like, oh, you should go with a 15 because in 15 years you'll pay $70,000 in interest, but over 30 years you pay $180,000 in interest, so you save yourself 110 grand. But the payment's $800-900 higher versus what all these guys are saying is like you take the 30 and then with what you would be spending on a 15, you take whatever's left after you make your mortgage payment and that $800-900, you start investing it somewhere where it's actually working for you, making more money. So yeah, at the end of 30 years, you paid $110,000 more in interest, but that money you invested made you maybe $1 million.
Yeah.
Versus the $110,000 you saved over 15 years, because your mortgage payment's so high, you can't invest any money because you're focused on paying that house off.
Yeah. I get the question sometimes, then they're like, do you ever recommend a 15? And I always have had the answer where it's like, unless you have no other debt, right? Let's say you're debt free, no other debt, nothing, zero, and all you're going to have is just a mortgage, then a 15-year makes sense, I think. But if you got other debts and you have no rentals, you have no, investments, you're not building any kind of, side wealth at all, and you're worried about your mortgage, that's not a good focus. Your focus should be, okay, am I building some rental income, or maybe you want to open up a few businesses, or maybe you want to double down in your own business and invest in the people in your business. That's the way to think. Not, are you worried about 0.25% on your mortgage or 0.5%? Who gives a shit? You really, a 15-year to me is kind of a dumb move. I don't like the 15-year mortgage. I don't, because the payment goes up $500 to $800 a month more. And like you said, $800 a month more, there's a lot you can do with that money. That you should be doing with that money.
Right. Yeah, it's going into, like you said, if you don't have any other debt, cool, you're building equity in your house, so it's not like you're not like throwing that money away, which, but if you're not in that situation, you're younger, you're just getting started, you don't want to tie yourself up where 45% of your monthly income is going straight to your mortgage. Because then by the time you pay everything else just to live your life, you're living paycheck to paycheck. What are you building outside of just your straight W-2 job?
Right.
You're not building any more wealth.
Yeah, that brings up a good point I just thought about this. So if you're a first-time home buyer, or even if you're a second-time buyer and you're not married and you're not going on the mortgage with anybody else and you're just by yourself, you should 100% get yourself some roommates. And I know a lot of people might think of that and be like, oh, I don't want to live with people. I remember my first house I bought, and I tell this story sometimes. It was a 5-bedroom house, and I bought it pretty cheap. I think I bought it for like $160,000, and that was like 2000, when was it, 13 or 14? And that's when house prices were a lot cheaper. But this is what I did. So I bought my first house, 5-bedroom house, but it was an old house, so that's why it was kind of cheaper. Literally, I got 3 roommates right away on month number 2, because I was single, no kids, wasn't married, so I could. And they literally paid my mortgage. They each paid like $300-400 a month in rent.
Right.
And I was actually making money each month. And I was living in my own house. Yeah, I did go through some kind of weird roommate situations sometimes, but they weren't ever bad. They weren't anything like I'd freak somebody else about.
Right.
But the power is I literally did that for about probably 4 or 5 years. So I had a house, I owned it, I had a mortgage, but I never made a mortgage payment for like 4 years.
It's crazy.
But like I said, single, no kids, wasn't married yet. And even if you are married, you and your wife can talk about it. If you're not planning on having kids for a while and you guys are cool with it and you guys have that type of relationship, why not get a roommate to live downstairs in the basement or something, right? If the house you're going to buy is set up for that. It's amazing. You charge $500-700 a month for rent, and now your mortgage is cut in half. That's like a cool house hack, period.
It is, because then all the money, you got a roof over your head for $0 a month, because other people are paying for you to have a roof over your head.
Yep.
And you're building equity every single month that they're making your mortgage payment. So all the money you're making at your job, you can use that for other things to help grow yourself.
Yep.
Yeah, dude, I remember you telling me that story, and you told me to do that too, and I didn't do it, so.
And it's not for everybody, but I really think there's like half the people that they should be listening to this, and they could do it. Mm-hmm. Now, a lot of people will say, can I get qualified for more if I'm going to bring roommates into this new house purchase?
Right.
No, not right away up front. It's if you have rental properties or you've claimed it on your taxes for a few years that a mortgage lender can use it.
Right.
But that's just like pat on your back. If you can afford the payment, if you're qualified for the mortgage and you buy the house and you have a couple spare bedrooms, what are you doing? Like, get a couple roommates in there.
Collected some dust.
Yeah, and you'll be surprised. All you got to do is vet them, have them do a background check, have them do a credit check, and you can pick and choose and throw it up on your local sites where you're like, hey, bedroom for rent, and you'd be surprised. Right now, people like getting renters is like a very easy, quick, fast thing now. But you got to be smart. Don't let some idiot move in with you, right?
Right.
Oh, I met her. She seems nice. No, that's not. Okay, I wouldn't do that. I would, get some references, credit check, background check, see where they're working, get pay stubs, do your whole process as a landlord. But it's a huge thing to be able to do that. And I think a lot of people would get ahead if they did that.
Yeah, and a lot of people even too, like when you're so young and you're maybe you just got out of college or whatever, if you're in a position to do that, a lot of times you can get renters just from your friends.
Yes.
So then you already know them. You got a relationship built. They maybe can't get their own place, so they're looking to rent. They can get a cheap rent through you because you're buddies, but it's still enough to pay your mortgage. I mean, that's a lot of ways too. Mm-hmm. What did you do specifically to pick your renters? Were they friends or were they strangers sometimes?
It was about half and half, probably leaning more towards the strangers. I threw it up on Bizman online, and I would always, do a very good job at meeting them first, vetting them, having them come to the place, talk to them, and then do all those checks. So, there was a few where I was like, oh, yeah, this isn't going to work. And, then they didn't get to move in. But a lot of times it was strangers. And I actually met a lot of cool people.
That's kind of cool.
I think in those 4 years, it was over 10 roommates, which is actually a lot. But like a couple times, because there's so many bedrooms, I'd have like 3, 4, like 2 or 3 each year, and then they'd move out and then whatever. But no, it was a powerful thing, man, and I'm so glad I did it.
Do you still have that house?
I do. Yeah, it's a great rental house. Yeah. Rental houses aren't for everybody, but it's if you have a little bit of a passion for it and a little bit of a desire to it and you want to try it, start with one. Mm-hmm. And you got that one rental property. And then if it works for a year or two, build into another one. I always like to say this. Life is short, life is long. Don't get so caught up in, I got to do this. I got to get a bunch of rentals. No, you don't. Who's telling you need to do that? Like, if in the situation in your life presents itself and you're like, I have the down payment, or I can rent out my current place and go buy another one, and I'm set up for it, try it. If it doesn't work, at least you tried it. But if it does work, buy another one in a few years. It's just kind of like, let rental properties be a thing that you do very in a calculated, smart way. There's no reason to rush it. I mean, even if you buy a rental at age 40 and you rent it out for 20 years, then you're 60, right? Then it might be paid off or close to it. And imagine what house prices are going to be in 2 decades from now.
Exactly.
It's crazy to think, right? People are so worried about right now, I need to buy 15 rentals this year. It's like, no, you don't. You don't need to do that. Buy one every couple years or something like that, The whole house hacking thing that a lot of these bozos talk about with buying these rentals out there and do this and do that. And it's just all these like non-traditional weird ways. And it's kind of scary to me. I'm not going to lie. Like when they're like, oh, this is private money, this hard money lending, and they'll do my deal with 10% down. And I'm like, well, what's the rate? And they're like 7-8%. But I'm like, oh my gosh, you guys, stop doing that. Like, don't do stuff that seems a little sketchy and non-conventional, because the financing isn't as good. There's going to be terms in some of those paperwork that you might not even know.
Right.
Now, unless it's like, my dad is lending me the money. Oh, okay, well, that's different, right? I'm talking about these hard money lenders, these like non-QM, these weird like private equity things that I don't even want to mess with.
Prime example of that is what happened to a lot of those as soon as COVID hit.
Exactly.
Gone.
Yep.
So then I don't know, if you got money that you borrowed from them and you owe it back, I don't even know what you do in that situation.
Yeah, I don't know.
They're just off the map.
Yeah.
They're like, yep, sorry, we're closed because we can't keep up. It's crazy. And that's like all Instagram's flooded with is just the crazy, unconventional, wild ways to get into investment properties.
Yeah.
And it's just like flooded news feeds with that.
Yeah. I don't know, man. Anybody that I know that's done really well in real estate that I'm like actually friends with, family members, like acquaintances with that I've seen through the years that have done it the right way and they've never gotten in trouble, they've all done it the traditional long game that makes sense with good financing, good property buying, and not all this weird rack and stack. Because the funny thing is if you're like what you're talking about, you look into the like some of the online social media people that are like talking about all that stuff. They're usually trying to make money off of you,
right?
Sell you their programs. Red flag, like not good. Don't do that. Like it's not smart. It's just not good wisdom behind it. But then the second thing is you're buying them the old-fashioned, traditional way with the money down, usually the 20 or 25% down. You're owning it yourself, or your LLC is, and then you're doing it with good mortgages, 30-year fixed, low fees, good rates, and then you're doing it in a way where it's healthy and you're doing it at a pace where it's financially stable for you, and then you're in control of that paper, control of that house. That's good. That's good, healthy, long-standing wealth.
Right.
This quick, fast, get-rich-quick stuff, a lot of those guys, I'll be honest, they're only like a couple years into it, maybe 5 years in. We haven't seen the trajectory of, okay, let's talk to these guys or gals 10, 20 years from now and see all that stuff that they did and see where they're at.
Right.
We don't know yet. It's so new yet. That's why I would be very cautious, to be honest.